Hey, this is Danny Zacharias, and welcome to the bonus video for Surviving and Thriving in Seminary. I hope you're enjoying the book, and let's get straight to talking about Atlas. Atlas, which stands for the American Theological Library Association Serials, is an online searchable database of most major religion and theology journals. In addition, Atlas houses a huge collection of full-text articles that are immediately downloadable for users. Every reputable seminary and Bible college will have institutional access to Atlas. If you're not sure, ask a librarian about how to access Atlas through your library. Let me show you how I access the database. Here's my library website, and in the list of databases, I will find Atlas. This is how I get to the database, and here's what Atlas looks like. So, searching a database is fairly obvious to those of us who use Google regularly. You're using keywords to try and find quality resources on a particular subject, but Atlas does a lot more than this as well. You will come to a page that looks like this. I will talk about this search page in detail in a few moments. First, I want to show you the Publications tab at the top, so click on that. The Publications tab shows you the vast amount of periodicals that are bibliographically indexed in Atlas. If you're interested in a particular periodical, you can browse through that periodical by clicking on it. You will see information about that journal, including the Atlas coverage, and on the right-hand side you'll see the journal organized into years and issues. You can easily browse journals this way. If you go back to the original Publications page, you will also notice RSS feed icons. You can choose to be notified by Atlas when these particular periodicals have been updated in the database. Atlas is 1 to 2 years behind publication on most active journals. In other words, about 1 or 2 years after an article is published in a journal, it will be indexed by Atlas. Let's go forward again to the journal info page that we saw earlier. Notice at the bottom there is a homepage URL. You can go directly to the homepage of that journal to see a list of its entire archive on the publisher's website. At this point, you will need to find out if your library has access to the journal's homepage. Libraries have institutional access to the publication page of many journals, but not all of them. Again, ask your librarian if you're unsure. So let's go back to the new search page, which is the page you will be using the most. Again, I remind you that this is a lot like Google searching in that you are using particular keywords to find relevant search results. Like Google, we can specify more than just one keyword. In this case, we would use the other available fields. We can also search for phrases using quotation marks. Atlas also makes it possible to further refine your search through other criteria. For instance, if I only wanted to find one author, I could place the last name of the author in the field and confine that field to author. Or perhaps you want to confine the search to a particular date. Just choose year published in the drop-down menu. I find that for the most part, using keywords is sufficient enough, but it is nice to know that you can easily refine your search more if necessary. I mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Atlas is an extensive database. You can turn to it for biblical studies, theology, church history, practical theology, biblical counseling, and even research into other religions. For this video, I'm going to harvest some sources for an essay on the Transfiguration of Jesus, which we read about in Mark 9, Luke 9, and Matthew 17. So let's type in Transfiguration and do a search. You see that we have lots of results. But because we made this a broad sweep search, this is showing us items that have the word Transfiguration anywhere in the data. Let's confine it to the title only. That gives us less results. At this point, I want to show you how you can filter the results list using the left-hand column. You can refine the results to peer-reviewed journals. You can also refine to those that have an abstract, and exclude stuff that is in process. If you're only looking for journal articles, not books or book chapters, then you can click the first checkbox. I'm going to leave it as is. The next layer of refinement on the left-hand side are the source types. This is the refining option that I turn to the most. Academic periodicals have a lot of book reviews in them, way more reviews than actual essays. Book reviews are great, but if you're looking for source material for an essay, chances are book reviews are not going to be that helpful. So let's check off all of these except for reviews and then update our results. I will say too that if you are indeed looking for a book review, then do the opposite of what we just did. Search for the name of the book you'd like to read a review of, then refine your results to only reviews. So now we're down in results again. It's quite possible that the word transfiguration may be used in an article that is not talking about Jesus' transfiguration. For instance, this top hit is a poem called Transfigurations. If I were an academic author writing about the transfiguration of Jesus, I would be sure to put the word Jesus and transfiguration in the title. So let's add Jesus as another search word and refine that to title. Now we're down to more manageable results. But notice that whenever you hit that search button at the top again, the refinements on the left-hand side are wiped out. So let's choose all but reviews again. Now we're down to really manageable results. But we could still refine further if we wanted. Perhaps our essay is only on the transfiguration in the Gospel of Mark. So let's add Mark as another search word, then choose the sources again. Now we're down to even less resources. This may be a little too narrow, and you might want to go back to remove Mark as a search item. So let's do that. Also, let's restrict items for now to English as the language. Atlas has a nice feature called Add to Folder, which sits below each item in the results list. If you click Add to Folder, the item will be listed temporarily into a folder for you. You will see that the folder icon at the very top now has an item, and a new column on the right is now showing items in your folder. The folder is particularly handy if you are researching more than just one thing in Atlas and you need to do various searches. Just gather your sources and process them later. Now that you've found some good sources, all you really have is words on screen. Further steps need to be taken to actually acquire the sources. So let's talk about how you go about obtaining these sources. First, Atlas has a lot of the periodicals stored right in the database. Whenever you see a PDF icon, that is a full-text version of the article that is free for you to download. Obviously, books and book chapters will not be stored in Atlas, and lots of journal articles are not in Atlas either. So at this point, you need to use your library catalog to find the article or book. If Atlas does not store the article, don't yet give up hope of getting an electronic version. Your library has many subscriptions to online services, and it is quite possible that an article is available to you electronically even if it is not in Atlas. There are two ways to search your library catalog. If you're lucky like me, then your library catalog is linked to Atlas. So for example, the first item has an icon that says Find It next to my university's crest below each listing. This is a direct link to my library's database. So all I need to do is click that button. The result for me is this page. As you can see, this article is available to me online with the top two links. Now let's go back to Atlas. Let's click on the second item. This time, the item is not in my local library, and I myself have the option to request the item as an interlibrary loan. Now if you do not have this direct link to your library, you need to do things the old-fashioned way. Cut and paste the book title and go to your library's online catalog to see if they have it. Depending on your library's database, they may not have each individual article title in their catalog. You should ask your librarian about this. If this is the case, then you would not be able to take the title of the first item and search in your library catalog. Instead, you would have to look at the source of the article. This one is from the journal New Testament Studies, Volume 58, Issue 2 in 2012. So you would look up the periodical title New Testament Studies in your library's catalog to see if they have that volume and issue. There are two last things I want to show you before wrapping up. If you look to the top of the page, you will see a tab called Scriptures. Atlas does users a very nice service in tagging items with scripture references. So, for example, if you are researching an essay about Genesis 1:1, you can choose Genesis 1:1 in the Scriptures list. Let's also restrict it to just English articles. And let's say we only want journal articles this time, and only published in the last 20 years. So as you can see, searching by scripture is also a handy feature, and Atlas makes this visually accessible in the Scriptures tab. To conclude, let's go to the folder view. If you recall, I saved one item to my folder. In your folder, you can decide what you want to do. I often collect my items in the folder all at once, and once I'm done my searches, then I'll go about obtaining the sources in the folder view. As you can see, you can also print your list, email it, save it as a text file to your computer, and you can also export it to various formats that can be imported directly into bibliographic management software, which I mentioned in the Tools chapter of the book. Without going into too much detail, I will also mention that there are other search engines and databases that you can make use of to supplement Atlas. Google Scholar is a nice free search engine for periodicals. Specific to biblical studies and theology, there is Index Theologicus. If you're looking especially for databases that have more non-English sources, check out Bilby and Bibble. I think that's how you say it. Finally, although not a database, biblicalstudies.org.uk is a great website that makes freely available a huge amount of articles and book chapters. There has been many times when I have found an article on the Biblical Studies website that neither Atlas nor my library had an electronic copy of. So there you have it. As I say in the book, every good essay is built upon the solid foundation of good research and sources. Make regular use of Atlas to obtain top quality sources, and you will have one essential component for your essay writing in seminary. And while I have your ear, I might as well ask you, please go rate and review my book on Amazon. Thanks everyone.